I have on the line with me Michael D. Knox. Dr. Knox earned his Ph.D. in psychology from the University of Michigan in 1974. Dr. Knox is Distinguished University Professor Emeritus in the Department of Mental Health, Law, and Policy, Distinguished Professor, Department of Internal Medicine, and Affiliate Distinguished Professor Emeritus of Public Health at the University of South Florida in Tampa. Dr. Knox joined the USF faculty in 1986 as chair of the Department of Community Mental Health and became a distinguished professor in 1997, holding faculty appointments in mental health, law and policy, medicine, and global health, with joint appointments in psychology and aging studies. For 50 years, his academic career has focused on peace, ethics, disease prevention, death, and mental health issues. He was elected to leadership positions nationwide and authored over 125 scholarly publications, including HIV and community mental health care. In 2012, he retired his license as a clinical psychologist to volunteer full-time and focus on anti-war efforts. His long-standing peace and anti-war activities began in 1965 in opposition to the war against Vietnam. In 2005, Dr. Knox founded the U.S. Peace Memorial Foundation. He directs its nationwide effort to recognize hundreds of Americans' anti-war peace actions by publishing the U.S. Peace Registry, awarding the annual U.S. Peace Prize, and eventually building a national monument, the U.S. Peace Memorial in Washington, D.C. And the U.S. Peace Memorial Foundation, what it is, it honors Americans who stand for peace by publishing the U.S. Peace Registry, awarding the Peace Prize, and raising funds to build the U.S. Peace Memorial. The U.S. Peace Memorial recognizes thoughtful and courageous The U.S. Peace Memorial Foundation recognizes thoughtful and courageous Americans and U.S. organizations that have taken a public stand against one or more U.S. wars or have devoted their time, energy, and other resources to finding peaceful solutions to international conflicts. The memorial celebrates these role models to inspire other Americans to speak out against war and work for peace. And so, Dr. Michael Knox, thanks for being on the Peace and Justice program today. It was a long introduction, but I think it was worth it for them to get to know you a little bit.
Thank you, Chris. You've given my entire spiel.
Oh, no, I haven't. So, tell us about the U.S. Peace Memorial. How was it started and why?
Well, let's start with the why. You can tell from the introduction that I'm an old person. But during my lifetime, the U.S. has bombed at least 30 countries, killing millions of people, maiming tens of millions more, destroying families, education, healthcare, housing, businesses, and creating untold numbers of refugees. Since World War II, no other country has killed and injured more people outside of its borders. And let me repeat that. That's very important. That since World War II, no other country, not all these countries that we've labeled as evil during the Cold War and since, has killed as many people as the United States has since the end of World War II. And U.S. peace recipient Costs of War, which is housed at Brown University, reported earlier this year that deaths related to our post-9/11 wars has risen to at least 4 million and counting. And as U.S. aggression continues, we must demand peace and recognize that those working to end war and militarism must be celebrated. So the U.S. honors and commemorates soldiers and wars, but not those who work for peace. This reinforces our war culture, which has spiraled out of control. And we founded the U.S. Peace Memorial Foundation in 2005 to honor Americans who work for peace, to work to end war and to end militarism.
Yeah, and I'm glad you started that way because you really put it in perspective. And over the years, you've honored a lot of very impressive awardees. And what stands out for you in terms of all these people, and how do you decide who to award the prize to, since there's many, many people working for peace?
Well, the U.S. Peace Prize has been awarded now to 15 people since 2009, and people and organizations, and they're all impressive in their own right. And I hope that your listeners will go to uspeaceprize.org. That's without periods, uspeaceprize.org, and read about the individuals who have received the awards, beginning with Cindy Sheehan in 2009, but awardees that included Medea Benjamin and Code Pink, Veterans for Peace, Kathy Kelly, David Swanson, World Beyond War, and other recipients that are well worth holding up as role models. In terms of how we make the decision, we have three projects, basically. One is the U.S. Peace Registry, where we document in very behaviorally specific detail what individuals and organizations have done for peace. We've actually identified about 900 actions that we've documented that people have engaged in, everything from giving speeches or writing a letter to the members of Congress or letters to the editor of local newspapers to whistleblowing and civil disobedience that has resulted in jail time. So it's a broad spectrum of activities that these people, and I think now the number is up to over 300 individuals and organizations that have been honored in the U.S. Peace Registry. So every year the people honored are honorees, which now number over 300, plus our founding members. These are the people who have contributed to the foundation financially, and if you go to our webpage, uspeacememorial.org, you can click on donors and see exactly who they are and what level of contribution the founding members have made. So there are about 800 total people, the people we've honored and the founding members, who each year nominate from those in the U.S. Peace Registry people and organizations to be considered for the U.S. Peace Prize. And that's the process. Nomination.
Dr. Knox, I was wondering if you could tell us about this year's awardee and about their work, and what is this recognition for the U.S. Peace Prize meant to them?
Well, the organization is the National Network Opposing the Militarization of Youth. And basically it's a network of organizations all across the nation who joined together. And actually their office is in San Diego, and I hope you might interview them sometime.
Yeah, I think I have already.
what it means to them. But they were awarded the prize for national efforts to stop U.S. military influence on young people, saving lives here and abroad. And I think their work is courageous and is critical. They work in the schools, and they help to shield young lives from some of the strongest influence of militarism and military recruiters. I personally believe they save lives and in the lives of people in distant countries that these students who become soldiers might harm if they become part of the U.S. war machine.
Right.
So they positively impact countless youth across the country, and it is a nationwide effort, although it is housed in California.
Mm-hmm. And for them, when they get the Peace Prize, is it just something that is there anything that comes with it, or just the notoriety of having been awarded such a prestigious award?
Yeah, that's a good question. We've discussed that amongst ourselves, and at this point, it is an award plaque and recognition and publicity, and hopefully the kind of publicity that will cause them to have more people show interest in what they're doing, and more people join their ranks and recognize their work and try to participate in it. But in terms of a cash award, which I think you're probably alluding to, there isn't one, because we're saving all of the donations and funds to build a U.S. Peace Memorial as a national monument in Washington, D.C.
Can you talk about that?
Monument.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I just want to say, at that monument, the Peace Prize recipients will be honored with specific details about what they've done. And we also will honor the people who are honored in the U.S. Peace Registry, and our founding members will be recognized there as well. So the monument ties into the recognition, and it should be a monument that will last forever, hopefully, and their work will continue to inspire people.
Can you describe the vision for this? Where would it be, and how far along is it? And just go a little deeper into the Peace Memorial.
Yes, well, the U.S. Peace Memorial really exists now online. All the details of its, possible design and its entire content, including the quotations that will be inscribed on the monument, at least as we envision it now. They'll have to be vetted to make sure that we want them there. But the quotations are there, all the details about the U.S. Peace Prize recipients, the Peace Registry, honorees will also are also on the webpage, as well as in my book, Ending U.S. Wars by Honoring Americans Who Work for Peace. So what I'm saying is the content of it exists right now and can be viewed by anyone. In terms of the physical structure, that will take some time. And we set 4 benchmarks early on that we wanted to achieve before we went public with a national fundraising campaign for this effort. And those benchmarks, are coming along. And, we wanted to have 1,000 people and organizations recognized in the U.S. Peace Registry. And we're about 300 registrants, so we have about 30%. We want to have founding members from all 50 states, 1,000 members total, founding members total from all 50 states. We have 46 states now, and Puerto Rico and the District of Columbia, and even the U.S. Virgin Islands. So we're missing only 4 states, so we're 92% away from that goal. In terms of founding members, are about halfway there, have about 500, nearly 500 founding members. And in terms of donations, we set an initial goal of $1 million before we would actually start the nationwide fundraising campaign. We wanted to have $1 million in the bank so we could actually have some staff and some publicity and some seed money, and to be able to say that we'd raised money. So we're 20% towards that goal.
Well, that's very impressive. It sounds like you've been working long and hard. And
yes.
I just wanted to let our listeners know this is the Peace and Justice program here at KZFR. I am speaking right now with Dr. Michael Knox. He's the founder of the U.S. Peace Memorial Foundation. And we've been talking a little bit about the Peace Memorial just now, but I also wanted to ask you about the book that you wrote. You wrote a book in 2021, Ending U.S. Wars by Honoring Americans Who Work for Peace. Can you delve a little bit more deeply into your reason for the title, and can you explain it to us more? Because you started off with a really powerful statement about the U.S. role in wars since World War II, and so just go a little deeper into that. I think that must be the thesis of this book, too.
Well, it is, in a sense, because we do talk, Chapter 1 is about the culture of war. And that culture of war is reinforced almost every day, almost every place in the United States. It's not only the monuments to war and to to people who have fought in wars, but it's also the recognition we might see at a halftime at a basketball game or a football game. It's the discounts at Home Depot for the military and the veterans. It's the recognition even at airlines when you board an airline that that the soldiers are to board first. And our thesis is to move from a culture of war to a culture of peace. You need to start recognizing other members of our community who make important contributions, including healthcare workers and teachers and truck drivers and salespeople and electricians and everyone in the ballpark. People work in the grocery stores, especially during COVID. Everyone contributes to our community, and the fact that we're always recognizing the soldiers and only a little bit the healthcare workers during the COVID epidemic, but it's part of our culture. The soldiers somehow seem more important than anyone else, and that sends a message to young people that the soldiers are the true heroes, and they're not. And it's time that we change our culture, because a culture that funds and esteems war making, that doesn't have respect for peacemakers, needs to change. We have a cultural mindset that's not acceptable if we're going to see peace in the future. So we want to move from a culture that might look at anti-war activists as un-American or unpatriotic to one that recognizes them as peacemakers and as true heroes. And much like during the Civil Rights Movement, most of the population, thought that the people who were protesting were un-American in some way and rabble-rousers. But now I think most Americans would agree that those who work for civil rights are heroes. And I think we can see the same kind of cultural change for the peacemakers in our lifetime. Yeah. And building the monument is very important to seeing that happen.
Right. And, I wanted to just let our listeners know that we have been talking about the everything under the umbrella of the U.S. Peace Memorial Foundation, which includes the U.S. Peace Prize, the Peace Registry, and the U.S. Peace Memorial. In terms of the U.S. Peace Memorial Foundation, Dr. Knox, what role does it play overarching all of this, and how can people support your work? How can we help you?
Well, our role is simple. We have just the three goals, the three projects. We don't expand beyond that. But we do need founding members. As I said, we need people who are willing to fund us financially. It's going to take thousands of people to build this monument and to continue to support our work to honor Americans who work for peace. We're going to need volunteers. We need young people to get involved in our work, especially. And, I'm looking to have the U.S. Peace Memorial built in my lifetime, but it's going to take lots of funds. One of the monuments more recently built in Washington is the monument to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and that cost over $110 million. That's an outrageous cost, and I don't think the U.S. Peace Memorial will come anywhere near that cost, but I would like to see it in the U.S. Mall in Washington, D.C. It'll have a much smaller footprint, but it will cost millions of dollars to get it through the process and to see that it's built and maintained into perpetuity. So we need founding members. I hope your listeners will go to uspeacememorial.org and click on the donor page, or just look at what we're doing and the Peace Prize recipients and those honored in the U.S. Peace Registry. But it's uspeacememorial.org, no periods in the U.S.
Dr. Knox, I think my final questions have to do with this legacy work. The U.S. Peace Memorial helps bind the peace movement together. Obviously, we look to see who's there and have a sense of community and all of this. But I was wondering how you see the future, as many of our age group, the Vietnam era activists, are slowly dying off now. You mentioned youth just now. Do you have any last words for the listeners about your wishes for the future and your sense of things going forward if you were not in leadership with this?
Well, we do need young people involved, and I'm hopeful because there are young people involved in Code Pink and World Beyond War and other organizations. Mm-hmm. And we have our vice president is under the age of 40, so that's a good sign. But we need more involved. And most important in terms of the youth is that these people that are being honored will serve as role models. So we want young people to look up to them, and I think they will when they read the book or look at the website or see the monument. And they'll also see quotations from famous Americans on the monument, names that they know, like Helen Keller and Margaret Mead and Martin Luther King Jr. and Muhammad Ali, and they'll be surprised by the strong anti-war content that these people have had the courage to say, and that will give people hope that it is socially acceptable to speak out against war and encourage more people to do so.
Well, I really thank you for being on the Peace and Justice program today, and I know that you've been posting on the Chico Peace Alliance Facebook page, and I want to encourage people to read more about the organization that you honored this year, the National Organization Opposing
National
Militarization.
Network,
National Network
Opposing the Militarization of Youth.
Yeah, that's my bad for shorthand.
A mouthful.
Yeah, it is. But they're doing such important work, and I will try to get them back on the air. I'm going to let you go now, but do you have any 30-second last thing that is kind of like, oh, I didn't get to say that?
No, I think I covered everything. Mostly, I would like to see more people involved, whether it's as volunteers or supporting us in a philanthropic way. I'd like more people to look at the website and learn more about our work and read about the people that are doing this anti-war work.
Yeah.
And contribute.
Thank you very much for your time today on the Peace and Justice program and for all this important information that you shared with us, Dr. Knox. Please stay well.
Thank you, Chris, for having me on your program.
All right, peace to you. Bye. All right, folks. That's something that you might want to get involved in. I think it's important. USPeacememorial.org is how you can learn more. And